after undergoing arrested 2 times under the ISA. Even though there's a similarity, almost exact similarity between the ISA in Singapore and ISA in Malaysia, but what shocked me most is that for a lady at that time, at the age of 38, arrested, during the first day of arrest, was slapped a couple of times, tortured, was ordered to stand up, sit down, stand up for hours, answering questions that is being thrown to her for the main purpose of implicating her, trying to just to humiliate her. This is what caused a lot of anger in my son. So long I have proven in the document, well written, very detailed about the torture. To me, torture is as simple as being shouted at, humiliated, asked to stand up in the cold room. Yeah. And so long I've gone into very detail, excuse me if I may, that ladies, detainees, were prevented from wearing panties. For the main reason, to humiliate them, because every time they want to use panty, they have got to request. And worse still, if they come, their period come, they have got to only wear pad that is being hung by rope. I'm sorry to mention it. But this is similar to the case of Operation Lalang to lady detainee, where they have got to show their stained pad to the officer in charge in order to get a new replacement of the pad. This happened in Operation Lalang, this happened in Operation Spectrum. So again, we would like to salute the bravery of Soh Lung and friends in the detention when they look for areas and venues to fight for the cause. But I do not know. I may be right, I may be wrong. The author can only testify that, like most of us, we have undergone series of interrogation with the special branch in Malaysia. In the case of Soh Lung, she as if has a love-hate relationship with the ISD, Internal Security Department, ISD. What I say love-hate is that from the beginning until the end, it seems that she has a bit of trust and try to believe that her release is very much dependent on the recommendation of the ISD. In my case, and a lot of our friends, we have 2 rules only about the ISD, special branch. We have 2 very noble rules. Rule number 1, never trust the SP. Rule number 2, never and never trust the SP. Yeah, about similar advisory board and everything is quite similar to Malaysia. And I think Soh Lung have a very good word against her former teacher, Professor Kumar, the teacher, who then became the law minister, second law minister, Minister of Home Affairs of Singapore. How can a law lecturer, when become in power, can accept detention without trial, abortive detention, and defending the PAP government of Singapore about detention under the Operation Spectrum? I think Malaysia has also shared to this. We have almost to the level of professor. When I was in opposition, went all the way to London University to make research on PhD level on IAC, and he confirmed that IAC is draconian. Supremacy of the executive in Malaysia when the rule of ISA is being implemented. But immediately when he joined the government, and now the minister, he defended that ISA is a need to the nation. So I think the other one that I would like to say, the technique used by Special Branch and ISD is similar, same, humiliation, torture, threat, carrot and stick, promising that they can recommend to the government. In the case of Special Branch, they claim to me that they are the custodian. They are the custodian and the guardian of the state. Whatever they say, call the shot. They can even decide who is going to be the minister and how they can plan accident of the car of the Prime Minister. So in the book, Soh Lung, because of the love and hate relationship with the ISD, as I see it, I may be wrong, but it stated quite clearly that in most cases from the beginning to the end, sometimes she was quite certain, sometimes she was doubtful that by giving cooperation, by cooperating with the special ISD, she can be recommended to be released. Or even she can be recommended through the court, through the court, to get early release. Similar case in ISA Malaysia, that is my case. I have this maxim. The SP would say, if you cooperate, you can be released. If you cooperate, you give information, you sign statement and so on, you may be released early, then there's no need for you to be sent to Camp Kamunting. I have this to share with all of you. In my personal experience, detained under the ISA. If you do not cooperate, you'll be sent 2 years to Kamunting. And if you cooperate, you will be sent 2 years to Kamunting. But this is, in most cases, yeah, I can do it. I can say that in most cases, when we have undergone it, when we fight against it, we can have these lessons. But it's always difficult, and I wonder how could people being tortured, being slapped, slapped at the face, retracted their statement and so on. I can appreciate this, and I would like to make sure that, like Suara, Gerakan Masukan ICJMI, try to educate the masses, at least about the two rules. Rule number 1, rule number 2, and about kalau kerjasama, tak kerjasama antara Kamunting, kerjasama pun di antara Kamunting. I think this is a lesson that we have got to share strongly with activists, so that we can always stand tall during the interrogation and stand tall during the serving of the detention order in Kamunting, and stand tall when we are being released from the detention. So again, I would like to say that there would be a similarity between Operation Lalang and Operation Spectrum, but it's up to the panel to discuss the matter. But I believe Mahathir may be inspired to take the benefit from what Recollections was doing at that time to use ISA at a massive level. Thank you very much.
Memanglah issue of ISA, which abolish the draconian law, can be used as a tool to sustain the powers to be. And it has even wiped out the labor movement, the left movement in the past. As you read through the book, you can feel a sense of anger, yeah? And also the spirit to fight back, which is good. As I peruse through the book, yeah, we are also from the same camp. Kamunting camp. So I can relate to the experiences that he goes through, the problem that he has gone through. A lot of bittersweet experience, especially through the interrogation, especially the 60 days. It all depends, and different people have different experiences. As for me, it's just underground. 60 days I don't see sunlight. So you can imagine where your source of air is the vent. They close the vent, you're in trouble, which they did right now. They have to scuttle through to try to get a bit of gas air. Also, so basically what as we read through, I'm happy that Dr Kua is able to go step by step and trying to explain, and also being able to connect it to what's happening outside. So it is a story. It is something that not only us inside and our friends outside and the international world, you know, even for me, my professor from Cornell University had been campaigning in the US, trying to get me out. Of course, I still stay there. But the idea, the spirit, which is very good, which I did write a poem for him on that one. So we go through various processes and different things. For me, hallucinating, diarrhea, headache, you name it, I have it. In fact, after I got out, my hair turned white. So I may look like KFC, but I may want the people to look like Trotsky or something, you know. But the children usually, they grow the more say KFC. So I'm not getting any, commission on that, So the thing is that so we went through a lot of difficult times. For me, sometimes I have to lie to protect our friends because we feel maybe they're not ready. If they are just letting the rope and get in, then in deep trouble. So most of us survive simply because the matter of principle. We did it because we believe in it, rather than trying to be heroes or trying to have a whole flock of people following you. We just did it because we believe in it, and that's what made us survive. If you want to be hero, they'll break you because they know how to break people. And we're able to meet here, the other side is able to meet with each other from all walks of life, political leanings, and share. Even now, when you've got out more than 50 years, we are like brothers of different political leanings, but we remember the time that we were together, we fought together, and these are the things that Kua has also brought out on many things about what's happening. It also reflects also that how maybe Kua would probably in his next book will talk more about how did we maintain our sanity, But as days goes on, as like Kua says, when you tak ada food dan perut, you go into certain, depressed or you cannot stand sound. I remember one time, Kua got out from his room. Somebody went to my room and, I did it because I didn't arrange the slippers correctly. While sweeping the floor, I must just display this, so there's a kind of, so meaning that our friends went through it because they believe in it, and I'm glad to be, to be part of the whole process. Not glad because I've been detained, but then to have friends with a lot of principle. So the review board for me, I did write something. It says, give reasons why we should not detain you further. So my answer, I do not wish to plead on grounds of rationality because my detention itself is irrational. I will only plead on grounds of conscience if it exists anymore. If all else fail, I leave my faith to truth, to history, to God. Yeah, basically the enemy walked out. Because there's nothing there. We know they are also not in control. Because it is a political decision why we are there, rather than this review board. And Kua also mentioned in his book about the hunger strike that we had songs, and I also read a poem. So as I perused through the poem that I wrote on that day, things have not changed at all. Nothing has changed, And I mean, it's a long, long battle. So I just read the poem that I read read during that time. The title, Time Passed Us By. Time passes by, the humid breeze, the sputtering rain, shattering the reluctant inferno, the sweltering nights engulfing the lonely beings, plastered against the recalcitrant dance. So, the story repeats itself with interspersed spies, selling souls for the price of freedom. Seeking truth, life encroached, families shook asunder, hiding the ever-welling tears to touch love, splintered by the roaring thunder and steely mountains of no return, cold, unforgiving. Time passes by, those on transit bade their exit, some mesmerized by the rupturing coils of the phone, some clenched their fists, caressing troubled conscience, retrieving the future. Silence sets the stage. For today, there are no goodbyes, sudden laughters, sudden bickerings, sudden sadness, stillness infiltrates. Seeking solace in the quiet corner of the mighty walls, licking the invisible wounds that torment the lonely souls. So to families and friends, pale words cast a drastic shadow against the staunch ones, where fatal attractions flirt confidently, ever willing to extend a destructive hand. A year passes by, the anniversary of unscrupulous politics started with racism, corruption, power, profits, and disguised exploitations, bleeding the nation with overtures and repression. So, a system wages war against itself, destroying every fiber of dignity that prides on humanity. To those who see the delinquent democracy smile a sarcastic while, to the intrigues of lost direction, remain steadfast to the ideology within. Truth must prevail. Repressions repented, struggles extended, victories a passing reminder. For these humble beings, sucked into lost horizons, committed to be outcasts of a shattered society, must rekindle the spirit of tomorrow, a lasting will from the catalyst of today, smashing injustices from the fathomless pits, liberating morality trapped in the facade of heavenliness. So we cling on to dignity, where love smiles, a thousand smile, where we are one in the struggle to be one. This was from the 27th of October 1988. So, I've seen the other editions of Dr. Kua. I'm impressed, and I hope Dr. Kua will continue to write because, as I look through, it touches a chord somewhere in my own experience. But we became stronger, wiser, maybe. But at least we know what we are facing, and we move on. And so I think I'll end here with Kua's book, with the information, the details, because I don't think I can do better than this. Maybe I won't be able to do it, because Kua is also the intellectual, so he can take up the, equate it, and which is good, which I'm totally impressed. Thank you very much.
Actually, those of us who were arrested in '87 were very surprised that we were arrested at all. And in fact, a few months before we were arrested, my friend, my comrade, Vincent Cheng, told us that he was being followed by ISD. And all of us laughed at him and said, look, please don't be so paranoid, you are not so important as to be arrested. And then suddenly, we were all taken in. So you must be wondering what I was doing in '87 to get myself into this big trouble. I actually was doing nothing. As a lawyer, I was a member of the Law Society, and I was in the committee looking into legislations. And so, you know, the Law Society has this duty to comment on legislations. And so my committee, I was a chairperson, commented on certain legislations, one of which really got the PAP government very angry was the amendment to the Newspaper and Printing Presses Act. And I think very soon the PAP government actually introduced, you know, this act actually allows the government to gazette foreign publications which interfered in domestic politics, and straight away they, when they are gazetted, they can only sell a few hundred copies, and that doesn't make sense to business. So actually my committee presented a report to the council, and at that time the council president was Mr. Francis Yao. And he took the report, I think it must have been submitted to the Attorney General, but, I think the Attorney General didn't reply at all. Then he decided to publish a press release. And that got the government really angry. Immediately, the Legal Profession Amendment Bill was set in motion. And by that bill, Mr. Francis Yao lost his presidency. And the statutory duty to comment on legislations was taken away from the Law Society. So the Law Society becomes a dumb society. They cannot speak anymore about laws. Until today, they still cannot speak about laws. So it is quite strange, really. Now, what was it like, you know, before the Operation Spectrum happened? I think Singapore was like Malaysia, very peaceful. In fact, more peaceful than Malaysia. Malaysia, at least you all have protests on the streets. In Singapore, we don't have any such things. We're very, very orderly. And my friends and I didn't hold even a placard along Orchard Road or Shenton Way. But all the same, we got ourselves into trouble. So what happened to, when Operation Spectrum happened? 22 of us were arrested. Among the 22 were 4 lawyers. So the civil society was then very weak, and everybody was silent. The Catholic Church initially held masses for the Catholic activists. But then the Archbishop got called up by the Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew. And then he became very silent. So everything is like a ghost town, you know, nothing happened. Not like Malaysia, everybody jumping up and down, right? Now, luckily for us, actually, the NGOs here, Aliran, I remember Dr Kua Kia Soong, Chandra Mustafa, and several other people spoke for us when we were arrested. And also the international organizations like KMAS, Amnesty International, and several, even the ICJ, International Commission of Juries, International Bar Association, called for our release. But there was no sound from the Law Society or from any civil rights groups in Singapore. So again, the silence was deafening, and it tells a lot about the state of the weak civil society then, at that time. The Geylang Catholic Center, which I was a volunteer then, was shut down by the Archbishop, and the priest in charge of the center left Singapore. And, well, everything was just silent. So 87 actually wiped out the very weak civil society in Singapore. And I was released in September 87. And I quietly returned to my legal practice. I minded my own business. And 1 month later, Operation Lalang happened. I was actually devastated that the friends who spoke for us were now in trouble. And we couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything. There was no group to call for your release and hold placards and go before the Malaysian embassy. We didn't have such guts or such a group to do this. So coming to the younger generation, they are IT savvy, and I think a lot of them are inspired by Dr. Chi Soong from the Secretary General of the SDP. And they who had been trying these civil disobedience tactics for a long time, but couldn't gain any ground until the year about 2005, if I'm not mistaken, where he protested at the World Bank IMF Forum. And he staged a 72-hour standoff at Hong Lim Park. And that was filmed by Martin C. And that film you can find on YouTube. It's called Speaker's Corner. That film actually showed how the police harassed Dr. Chi and his sister. And it's a good film because nobody has actually filmed police actions against peaceful protesters. That really showed up that they were not reasonable at all. So I think that film also inspired the young people to take matters and to reclaim some of their civil rights. So in the year 2006, the general election, it's 2 minutes, the internet was fully used for alternative views. So people, instead of reading the street signs, they go into the internet. Now, I have to conclude very quickly. But having said all that I have said, is the government prepared to allow Singaporeans to reclaim their civil rights easily? Maybe not, because in the year 2009, they enacted the Public Order Act, which restricts freedom of speech and assembly. You know, one person also can be considered an unlawful assembly. And then people have been arrested under the ISA, sued for defamation, charged for contempt of court like Alan Shadrake. All these are very backward steps towards giving us more freedom. So, you know, the Democratic Party members have also been charged for unlawful assembly. So actually the conduct of the government is not so great. And we have a long way to go before we achieve what you have already achieved for decades. Right, thank you.
And what have we seen from the social movements since Operation Lalang? 1993, the indigenous peoples came up with their civil rights demands at Cebu, which was, I don't know, many people are aware of this. In 1993, at Cebu, the indigenous peoples of East Malaysia plus the orang asli in this country came up with their civil rights demands. In 1998, of course, Reformasi was one of the most important movements in this country, where we saw, I remember, many meetings were held in this Chinese Assembly Hall. Young people today is still with us. I hope that Hisham will elaborate more about the Reformasi movement all these years. Very important development in the social movements of this country. 1999, the Indian Malaysians handed in the 51 demands, okay, the concerned group of Indian Malaysians. And of course there was Suu Kyi from the Chinese associations. I'll talk about Suu Kyi later on in a bit more. But what happened in 2001 was the Kampung Medan riots, It's not so much a social movement, but it was a very important, development, much like May 13 was with the Chinese Malaysians, when Indians in Talang Jaya were killed. 2007, two very important movements, Bersih and Hindraf, which I believe, if they hadn't happened, 2008 general elections would have been that political tsunami. Okay, 2009, we see the Orang Asli getting together for the first time, united. All the Orang Asli in West Malaysia united for the demonstration and the handing of a memorandum to Putrajaya. So these are the basic social movements all these years since Operation Lalang. I will talk more about the Chinese association because I know them. I think I know them at the back of my hand now. And I think what is important is that from 1999 onwards, with the Suu Kyi, so-called appeals, in 1999 before the elections, came up with these Suu Kyi demands. I remember we had a meeting here in this very room, and there were very multi-ethnic group, and people were saying, hey, this is good, Suu Kyi demands are very, very fair, very multi-ethnic, etc. But then the leaders in the Chinese associations withdrew some of their demands when the UMNO youth demonstrated outside the Chinese Assembly Hall, threatening to burn the Chinese Assembly Hall. I think our lawyer, Sir, is there, okay? He was handed the memorandum by UMNO youth. And then they withdrew some of these demands, which I think is completely wrong. To withdraw your demands. Even if UMNO demands, you will not withdraw. Because, come on, Barisan Nasional supported the Suu Kyi during elections. So what is this? After the election, you just think that you can threaten the Suu Kyi with what? It's ridiculous. And then in 2003, you see the Federation of Chinese Assembly Halls. What did they do? They supported Badawi before the elections in 2004. In 2004 and 2008, you find that even Dong Jiaozhong, the Chinese education movement, failed to demand from the government some of the very pressing demands of the Chinese education movement or the Chinese community for the election, which they've done consistently ever since colonial days. Every general election, every by-election. And so this is they've failed so far. And there's certainly something very wrong going on with the leadership of the Chinese associations today. To conclude, yes, I would like to say something about the third force that the people are talking about today. People are talking about the third force as if it is some kind of a third force to break up Barisan Nasional and Pakatan Rakyat. I believe that the third force has to be something different. To push these two fronts in a way that in England, in America, people are pushing Labour Conservative, people are pushing Democratic Republican, to push it to a more socialist third force, to demand that the social ownership of the means production in this country is maintained. Okay? That alternatives to what Barisan Nasional and Pakatan Rakyat are pushing can be enforced, can be implemented by them. I've always given up hope on the Barisan Nasional from the very beginning, even since I was a student. Okay, so I think that the third force should be putting pressure on Pakatan Rakyat to make sure that it's not just a careerist thing of being in Parliament. We must make sure that some of these demands of an alternative social ownership, alternative education, alternative infrastructure, alternative transport, alternative defense. And here I'd like to have an advert that in about 2 weeks' time, I'm coming up with a book on the alternative defense policy of this country called Questioning Arms Spending in Malaysia, from Alton Tuya to Zikowski. There is an attempt for what I think is civil society I don't like the term civil society actually, because I think that civil society disguises class differences. I remember speaking in the Chinese Assembly Hall seminar on civil society, and I gave a keynote address. There was only one activist from Taiwan who knew what I was talking about. But I would like to stress that what is important about is the class differences, and NGOs should be pushing for this alternative to what Pakanda Riot and Barisan Nasional is doing now. Okay, I'm almost done, and I hope that so this third force, I hope that NGOs and associations in this country will be in this movement that was started many years ago, even before Operation Lalang, where we are pushing for our society to be more progressive, for there to be more justice, more democracy, more human rights, and for increasing social ownership of the means of production. Thank you very much.
The whole idea about ISA, if you go back, if you read Foucault, if you read these great philosophers, you see, it's about how they take your liberty. Yeah? And like Pak Abu was saying earlier on, Pak Abu is Saari Sungib. Yeah? So I call it Pak Abu because that's my self-made name. So, it's earlier saying, it's to humiliate you. Yeah? To humiliate you. The moment they humiliate you, they strip you naked. It's nothing else. It's not they want to see your penis. You see, it's to show that they have power. Yeah? I can tell you an incident. Yeah? So I partly orang asli. I love petai. You know petai, yeah? And the string of petai, yeah? Okay. There was a time, there's a visitor who brought me 5 string of petai. Yeah? They did not allow me to get 5 string of petai into the cell. You can only say 2. What difference does it make actually? Yeah? But it's a power of authority to humiliate you. Yeah? No. I said you cannot take 5, you can take only 2. So this is the decision. So the same thing, So your sanitary pad, you show me whether you're bleeding or not, Whether you're bloody bleeding or not, mate, Come and show me your opinion, So that's the thing. So it's humiliating. So what happened is actually, there's this fear. See, the moment they arrest you, there's big publicity, So that is not for us in the cell already. We have no clue where we are. When they arrested, we are blindfolded. We went into don't know where. Until now, I have no clue where I was. But that doesn't matter. But that is for the nation. Yeah? For the nation, they say, I was told that Hishamuddin Rais telah ditangkap, so all this. And then I didn't have clue also about Molotov cocktail. I know cocktail. but I don't know Molotov, But cocktail, yes, I know very well. And then I said, ball bearing. I don't carry ball bearing, neither I carry ball. so I mean these are, so I don't know. So these are not for us. It's to create fear. I mean, if you recall, remember the pages of the Star newspaper during Operation Lalang, all the fear that all who is being arrested. So the whole nation come to grip. Oh my God, So this is the thing. So they play this, and the citizens are very scared. Why the citizens? Why you are scared actually? You think properly, because there's something you're scared of. You don't know nothing. You're scared. You are taken in a way. You're scared about this thing. You're scared. Oh my God! I'm going to be like in prison in Tehran. Or I'm going to be like Cuba in Guantanamo Bay. Or I'm going to be like Kamunting. They're going to torture me here. No. Look. The moment you are there, don't worry about it. Really. I'm a seasoned prisoner. Yes, I've been several prisons around the world. I can probably say I've been in Australian prison, Indian prison, Moscow prison. It's okay. It's good time. I spent some good time in India. So the lowest of the low. So don't worry about it. So it's your psychology. They try to create fear, to create the fear for you, you are unknown. the 5 guys, whoever they are, the special branch, they have no name, they come there, and they try to find out all the things. As Saari Sungib said, never trust them, I mean, you answer what you want to do, whether you want to work with them, they will send you to Kamunting also. Whether you don't work with them, they send you to Kamunting also. So it doesn't really matter, because as I always say, don't worry about it. The ISA can detain you for any reason, even you are wearing a yellow underwear. Really? I mean, if they like you, they can detain you. So why do citizens of Malaysia worry? You see, but my biggest regret of the first, I arrested twice. When I came back from abroad, they detained me for a while. Then the second time. My biggest regret is actually because the accusation was like that saya tidak menghasut banyak. Really, I was not enough menghasut. Now I'm working to menghasut more. So that when they arrest me again, I said, did I? Oh my God, I should have do it more, So it's easier for you to work out, So that's the whole thing. So don't worry about it, because it's the fear. I mean, that's real. I mean, look, I know people who have family, they have fear. They have family, they have children, they have this fear, separation. But for me, damn it, I have no wife, no children, I have cats. Listen. And you know what they're interested about my cats? Kucing kau tu kucing parsi ke? Tak ada, it's street cats lah. Street cat kau belaga lah. So I only have my cats. So I'm not worried. So you see, the only thing, psychologically, for you, if they attain you, you detach. This is what is so important. Zen Buddhism is good for you. True. Because, true. Let me tell you the key. If any of you got arrested, remember this. The pastor Hishamuddin Rais told you this. Look at the key. There's a key, It is so small, but you cannot do anything about it. So just ignore the key, sleep, and have fun.